Okay. So when you are doing a business, you either use equity or you use debt, abi, to finance the business. And some people provide this source of finance. The provider of equity, we refer to them as what? Shareholders. While the provider of debt, we refer to them as debt holders, right, abi? And don't forget, we have different types of debts. So now, the provider of this sort of finance, they will definitely need a reward for their investment. Abi, once they invest, they need something for the reward. And those reward is what we refer to as a cost of capital. Let's take it like that. That reward is called cost of capital. That is, once they invest, they get a return, and that return. Now let's see how it works. Cost of equity, cost of debt, and weighted average cost of capital. That is WACC. The cost of capital for investors is the return that investors require from their investment. That can you start it now? The cost of capital for an investor is the returns that they require for their what? For their investment. So either you as an investor, you can invest in equity or you invest in what? In debt. The return that you are expecting from such investment is called what? Cost of capital. Okay. Company must be able to make a sufficient return for their own capital investment to pay the return required by their shareholders and who? The holder of debt capital. That is, if equity holder provide 1 million naira and debt holder provide 1 million naira, it means in total this company is having capital of how much? 2 million naira. Now this company will invest this 2 million naira in a particular business, right, abi, or a particular investment. That investment should be able to generate a return. And now, that investment that this company is investing into should be able to generate a return that will be sufficient enough to pay the return of the provider of this source of finance, either it is equity or debt. And also, for the company to also make a little profit. Am I talking now? Yes. Let's assume this return in total. If they need 10% on this investment in total, that means when this company invests in a particular project, maybe it's like this money to sell rice and beans. That business should be able to generate a return at least how many percent? 10%. To be able to pay this provider of investors. So if not, then this company that place is running at what? At loss. That is what cost capital is looking at. Now, let me further a little bit. The cost of capital for investor therefore establishes a cost of capital for what? For company. So when we are talking about cost of capital, then the cost of capital, the returns for the company is the basis for determining our cost of capital. Now, for each company, there is a cost of equity for every company. Every company, either you have used equity to finance your business, or you are using what? Debt to finance your business. So for every company, there is a cost of equity. This is the return required by the shareholders in the form of what? Dividend or share price growth. Now, when you are referring to the cost of equity now, cost of equity, this is the returns required by who? By the shareholders. By who? Shareholders. Cost of equity is the returns that is required by shareholders. Then, when we say return, in form of what? In form of their dividend that they are receiving or share price growth. Share price growth. So when we are talking about cost of equity now, we are referring to, because some shareholders, when they invest in your equity, their interest is to collect what? Ordinary share to go benefit dividend. Once they buy your share, what their target is to be collecting dividend every year. But whereas some investor, when they invest in your share, They are not interested in your dividend. They are just want to speculate. When your share price goes up, what do? They will sell the share and they will make a profit from that. Are we together? That is the return to the equity holders. That's for the equity holder. Number two, there is a cost of each item of debt finance. Now, for every company, sometimes there's always an element of what? Of debt finance. In that case, there will always be cost of debt. That will be what? Cost of debt. This is the yield required by the lender or the bond investors. That's the yield required by who? By the bond holders or bond investors. So any debt, what you are expecting is what? Is a return, which is called cost of debt. Now, and number three, when there's a preference shares, there is also a cost of what? Preference share capital. So these are the three major sources of finance that I want to focus on: the ordinary share, the debts, and preference shares. The cost of capital, the cost of capital for a company is the returns that it must make on its investment so that it can afford to pay its investor the returns that it requires. So for when we are talking about the cost of capital now, so we are looking at cost of capital from two perspectives. One, from the investor perspective, and two, from the company's perspective. Hello? When we are talking about capital, we always look at them from two angles. From the investor's angle, that is the provider of that money, okay? And from the company that is using the money to do business for you. So now, the cost of capital for the company now is the return that you must make on your investment for you to be able to pay the provider of debt returns or the provider of equity return, anyone you are talking to, the investors, so you are able to settle their own returns. Are we together? Now, the cost of capital for investor now, for the investor perspective now, how to get this? The cost of capital for investors and the cost of capital for the companies should theoretically be what? Be the same. Hello? Now, this is a company. This is Mr. A. Now, Mr. A provides this guy 10 million naira to do business. Abi? This guy say, okay, on this my investor, I will collect 10%. That is the cost of what? Of capital to who? To Mr. A. The how much is company A is expected to pay. Also, how is expected to pay? Is expected to pay 10% too. Abi? Is expected to pay 10%. That means this is the cost of capital to who? To the company. Abi? Automatically, the cost of capital to the company and the cost of capital to the investor should be what? Should be theoretically be the same. Am I complicating now? Should be the same. Abi now, we move forward. I don't go be the same, but that is theoretically. But in reality, by looking at it critically, they are not always what? The same. Why are they not the same? Let's look at it right now. Why are they not always the same? Look at the scenario. The cost of capital for the company is I'll say that the cost of capital for the investor and the cost of capital for the company should theoretically be the same. However, they are different because of the differing tax position of investor and who? And who? Let me explain that clearly a little bit. Now, the tax position of these two people are different. If Mr. A borrow a company 1 million naira and he said, please, my return, that's 10 million naira. My return on this investment is 10%. Automatically, at the end of the day, you will pay this guy interest of how much? That is interest of 1 million naira. That is the amount that you are paying this guy. To him, is collecting 1 million naira. Am I talking now? But from the company perspective, the company, fine, they are paying 1 million naira to you as Mr. A. But as a result of this 4 million that they are going to pay you, they are enjoying tax savings. They are enjoying what? Because this interest is an allowable expenses. I mean, in tax law, I mean, when you get to tax, you have allowable expenses and general allowable expenses. So this interest payment is an allowable expense. Now, look at this scenario. Without interest, with interest, I want to create a scenario whereby company A, if company A is making a profit of 10 million naira in a year and 10 million naira in a year, if this guy does not pay interest, that is, so interest, the interest will be taxed again. But if you pay interest, how much is pay as interest? 1 million naira. That means the profit before tax here to be what? 10 million. Abi now, here to be what? 9 million naira. Now let's assume our tax rate is 30%. If he does not pay interest, how much is he going to pay as tax? 30%. 3 million. Abi? But if he pay interest, how much you pay as interest as tax? 2.7 million. Abi? You can see the difference now. What is the balance? This one is 7 million. Abi? What is balance here? 6,300,000. So we pay. If this guy does not pay interest, he will be paid tax of how much? 3 million. Abi? But if he has paid interest, he will be paid tax of how much? 2.7 million. That means he has saved tax. How does he save as tax? He has saved 300,000. Now, to this company now, in reality, to him now, he didn't pay this guy 1 million naira. Although, you remember, Mr. A, by the way, to Mr. A collects what? 1 million. But to the company now, the company did not actually pay 1 million naira. What he paid is 1 million naira expenses, 300,000 as well, savings. What is the net now? 700,000. So to him, the actual amount that he pays as interest is what? 700,000. Why? Because of the tax benefit that he has enjoyed on that interest. So that's why we say, in reality, on paper, what you are paying and what they are receiving should be the same. But because of the different tax position, because this guy will be looking at interest before tax. But this guy, they will be looking at the interest payment after what? After tax. So this guy is looking at pre-tax position, but they are looking at what? At a post-tax position. So now, for the investor, for the investors now, their tax position is what? Is always as a pre-tax position. All their returns is always be as what? As pre-tax. But for the company position now, perspective, you look at what? At a post-tax. So if your tax rate is 30%, hello? If your tax rate is 30%, the investor is collecting how many interest? 10%. That's the investor. But the company is actually paying 10% into bracket 1 minus the 30%. That's 0.3. You look at your end, that's 7%. So for the company, they are paying 7% as what? As interest. But for the investor, they are paying how much? 10% as what? As interest. That is the position of those interest return from investors and return from who. So if they ask you now that what is the return of an investor, you look from which angle? From pre-tax angle. Hello? If they ask you, calculate the return for the investor. Return for who? You will look for the angle of what? Pre-tax. Whenever they say calculate the return from the company perspectives, which are you looking from now? Post-tax. So therefore, your post-tax return is always equal to pre-tax return. I'm giving formula now into bracket 1 minus tax rates. It's always what? Your post-tax returns is always what? Pre-tax and 1 minus what? Minus tax. That is from the investor and from the company perspective. Now, aside this, let's take a step further. We are trying to look at the reason why the return for the investor and the return for the company always different. We say one of the major reasons was the tax position of the company and the investor always differ. Now, number 2 condition, cost of capital for investor is measured as what? As pre-tax cost of capital. Can you see now? For at any point in time, the cost of capital for investor, it is always from which angle now? From pre-tax. Pre-tax before tax. You want to pay pre-degree. Pre-degree before you enter degree, that's pre-degree. Anything pre is before tax. Now, when you pay postgraduate, after that's the post. So now, the cost of capital for the companies recognizes that interest costs are an allowable expenses for tax purpose, and the cost of debt capital to the company should allow for the tax relief that companies receive on interest payment, reducing their tax payment. The cost of debt capital for companies is measured as what? Yeah, now. As what? So when you are measuring the returns, cost of debt for the company, you also look for what? For post-tax, that is after tax. Post-tax, after tax. Then, next line. The average cost of capital, that is the WACC, is the average cost of all sources, because we are going to focus on 3 things. So we'll be focusing on number 1, the cost of equity. If by now we should know the meaning, that is the return recovered by who? By the equity owners. Then we talk about what? Cost of debts. That is what? Return recovered by who? By debt holders. Then we now talk about the WACC. People pay WACC. What's the meaning of WACC? Weighted average cost of capital. Now, some companies, they always have the combination of equity finance and what? And debt finance together. If you have only equity finance, then you should worry about what? Cost of equity. Hello? If you are doing business and you only have equity alone, you have a business here, the only return that should be taken off is what? Is the cost of what? Of equity. Where's Marian? You be talking about what? Cost of what? Cost of equity. That is equity holders. But if you are talking about the cost, you have only equity debt alone in your profile, the equity, you don't use equity to do business. Then what are you worried about? You worry about what? Cost of what? Cost of debt. We get a message now. But by the time you now have the combination, you are using equity to do business. You also work. You also borrow money to do. That was the popular one. You use equity. Also, you are using what? You are using debt. So when you are using 2 together like that, then your cost of debt, your cost of capital is always your what? Your WACC. WACC is the weighted average of all the cost of all the sources of your work, of your finance. Am I together? Yes. So we are going to look at it now one after the other. So we are going to start from cost of equity. From there, we move to what? Cost of debt. From there, we now move to what? To WACC. Hello? Once you know this topic, at least you have known how many percent of the syllabus. 15% of the syllabus, 18% of the syllabus, more. Something like that. That's why don't joke with it. Don't do what? Now, WACC. The weighted average cost of capital is the average cost of all the sources of capital that a company uses. This average is what? Weighted to allow for the relative proportion of different types of capital in the company's capital structure. This average is what is weighted to allow for all sources that you are what? You have in your profile. Then that's what we also always call average and marginal cost of capital. What does that mean? In our economies, when we say marginal utility, you know what you call that? Economics in the house. Marginal utility. Additional what? Eh? Yeah. And your bad net is what we do in economics those days. Additional satisfaction.
Extra
And that you derive in a consuming additional unit of the commodity. So when we are anywhere we word marginal, it's always what? Additional. Now look at it. Average or marginal cost of capital now. One approach to the evaluation of capital investments by company is that all of their investment projects should be expected to provide a return equal or in excess of what? Of the WACC. When you invest in a particular project, the idea is that you must have a return that is either equal to your WACC. When you say WACC, that means you expect to pay your provider or above your WACC. If it's not equal to it or above, what are you doing? You are running at loss because that means you use your partner to pay back the investors. Now, if all their investment projects earn a return in excess of the WACC, the company will earn sufficient return overall to meet the cost of its capital and will provide its investor with the return they require. An alternative is to use the marginal cost of capital when evaluating investment projects. Now, let me say something now. One of the major reasons why a company must be able to identify its WACC, that is, its cost of capital, is that you'll be able to use it to evaluate your investment appraisal. From our PM, those of that are coming from PM, you do capital budgeting. You appraise your project using cost of capital. When you are doing PV, you have to discount using NPV. And that NPV you can do in your PM, they will give you, they say, assuming the cost of capital is 10%. That in PM, you always assume, but here is a problem that you must look for. So here, nobody will give you cost of capital free. You must first of all, if you are about to tell you that number A, require, determine the cost of capital. Number B, use your answer in A to appraise the project. What we go to see the land here, so that means it's an issue that you must understand critically in this aspect. So now, when you are using WACC to appraise the project, you can say that in some instances, that marginal additional cost that you have to incur in raising additional funds, that's marginal. Look at it, complete the statement there. Marginal cost of capital is the cost of the next incremental of capital raised by what? By the company. So if company is doing business, is having 10 million before, and he now want to do a particular project, he now raise additional 1 million naira. So the cost of raising 1 million naira, because this cost will either increase or decrease your overall WACC before now, you have a WACC. Before when you have 10 million naira, you have a WACC. By the time you now raise additional 1 million naira, you have another WACC. So the extra cost that comes up as a result of this additional money that we are raising is what marginal cost of the capital. It's like I say that I think the word marginal is a what? So now, that's that for that page. Now, let's go to the next page. Comparing the cost of equity and cost of debt. This is always a examinable question. Comparing the cost of equity to cost of debt. At any point in time, when the company is financing business with equity, you will always have what? Cost of equity. When the company is financing business with debt, you always have what? Cost of debt. Then when you are using combined together, you are doing combination. What do you have? You have WACC. I'm not educating now. Now, some people provide equity, while some provide what? Debts. So there's always a difference between the cost of equity and cost of debt. And there's always we want to compare them now together. If you are an investor and you want to invest in a particular company, which one are you to prefer? Will you prefer to invest in equity or you prefer to invest in debt? Before you can make that kind of decision, we must have this good understanding of how both of them operate in that of their returns. I will say that. Now let's break them down one after the other, comparing equity and debt. Now look at this. Cost of equity is always higher than the cost of what? Of debt. Please look at that very carefully. They say cost of equity is always what? Always higher than what? Than cost of. That means at any point in time, the provider of debts always have a returns that is higher than what? Than cost of equity. Am I communicating to people in this class? Are you with me? Okay, it's better sit right. I need back from brother.
Last sentence, please begin the next one.
About what? What did you hear, sir?
You said the cost of equity is always higher than cost of debt.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Okay, that means wrong. The cost of debts is always higher than cost of equity.
No.
No,
that's not. Cost of equity is always higher than cost of.
Cost of debt, okay. So the cost of equity is always higher than the cost of debt. Now, what I say is, the provider of equity, which are who? The shareholders, have been, and the debts. At any point in time, this shareholder will always demand higher return than the provider of debt. There are a lot of reasons for that. I will go to bring down the reasons. Look at it now. Now, this is because equity investments in a company is what? Is always more risky than investment in the debt of the same company. If you invest in the shares of the company, or you decide to invest in the debt of the company, investing in shares are more risky than investing in what? In debt. Now, you are with me that when a company is facing financial difficulties and the company become bankrupt or liquidated, who suffer most? Shareholder. That one alone has increased their work, their risk. As what? Increased their risk. I will say that, please. So, because of that, and don't forget the general language, the higher the risk, the higher the return. So, if the equity holders are exposed to more risk than debt holders, then they should be there for what? They should be there for more return. Hello? Now, let's not try to expatiate on those their risk. Let's try to expatiate on those their risk. Interest on the debt can be up to fees. One of the risks. The interest, this interest on debt, the interest is always what? Always fees. That is, no matter what, no matter the profit you make, either your profit is low or is high, you what? You pay them their fees interest. But for the equity holder, they get dividend, abi? That dividend is it fixed? It depends on profitability. If the profit is high, they get more dividend. If the profit is low, this is dividend. If there is no profit, no dividend. Hello? That is one of the risks that anybody that invests in share will expose to. Sometimes you may not get anything, but for the debt holders, it always fits in nature. It always fits in nature. Number 2, provider of the capital have a contractual right to receive interest and repayment of the debt principal on what? On schedule. Hello? The moment you invest in debt, you always have a legal right, a contractual right to receive your interest on what? And principal on schedule. Every month, pay me my interest again. My son, how many weeks? You pay it every week, abi? So at the son, I'll give you a late. That is interest holder. the debt holders. They have their right to get their interest. To overflow, they have power to take you to what? To legal action. That is what the interest. But for the equity holders, did they have any right to dividend? No. As a matter of fact, a company may not declare dividend for 10 years. Who cares? Nobody cares. I was getting so they don't have the legal right to work to do, but for debt holders, they have the legal right. You can see now that this guy is having a lot of work, a lot of risk. Don't be paying you can invest. For like 10 years, we don't get anything from your investment. What do you sell it at loss? If you want to sell, you'll be looking for the share price to grow, have it? You buy something 10 naira. After 2 years, something has doubled 8 naira. You sell it, you make any gain? No. I said something there. I said your return is coming from two angles. Number one, dividend. Number two, share price growth. That when the price grows, you sell, you make a gain, have it? And you know the difference is that a company that is not paying dividend regularly, what happens to the share price? It will be decreasing. So double what? Double one. Number three, another reason for the risk. In the event of insolvency of the company and what? And liquidation of its assets, provider of debt capital are entitled to what? To payment of what they are owed by the company before the insurer can get anything. So whosoever lost, shareholders. You can see now. So because of these three major risks that the equity holder is exposed to, therefore the demand for what? Higher return. So at any point in time, the return on equity are always higher than what? And the return on what? On debt. The share equity has a higher investment risk right now for investors. The expected return on equity are higher than expected return on what? On debt capital. In addition now, so if they ask you us now, why do you think the return on equity is always higher than return on debt? What's one reason? The risk, abi? And you tell us the three categories of risk that they exposed to. All this point is 1.0. That 1 point is frustrating. This 3 point is frustrating what? Risk. So in addition to this risk, there are some other reasons why the cost of equity is always higher than cost of debt. In addition, from the company perspectives, the cost of debt is always reduced by what? By the tax relief on what? On the interest payments. This makes debt finance even lower than cost of what? Of equity. I've already analyzed that one last time, that from the company perspectives, what do you consider? You consider what? You start cost of the debt. So that way alone makes company to always see cost of equity to be always good. Dividend is not an allowable expense for tax. I mean, when you are treating your dividend, do you use for tax purpose? No. What we use in our changes in equity, I mean, dividend payment. Where you use in financial reporting is in change equity, I mean, so it's not affecting your tax in any way. Now, the effect of more debt capital, are higher. Financing journey on the work is considered in more details in later. Now, what I say is, when you have more debts in your capital structure, that means you are having a high journey. I don't know of journey now. The ratio of debt to equity will be journey ratio. When you are having more debts, that means the company is having more journey. That effect, there are always an effect on your work, That effect, we are going to look at it in details in later section of this our class. So let's go straight down to cost of equity. Cost of equity now. So we want to build them one after the other, right? I will do that, please. We want to build them one after the other. Let's start from cost of equity. Method of calculating the cost of equity. The cost of equity is the annual returns expected by ordinary shareholder. Is what? Cost of equity is what? Is annual return expected by who? By who? Ordinary shareholder. In the forms of dividend and what? Share price growth. Please, when we are talking about cost of equity, it's not always the same that maybe we are doing something. No. When you hear the word of equity, we are looking from the perspectives of dividends and what? And share price growth. From which perspective now? Dividend and what? Share price growth. Share price growth. Please have this good understanding that anytime you measure the word cost of equity in reality sense, you are referring to the return they get in form of a dividend, or the return they get from when you start buying that Bakora, you buy 20 naira. After 1 year, it is now how much? 40 naira. That's what we call share price growth. So maybe if you sell, you make a gain of how much? Of 20 naira. That is what we call return. Okay. He said further. If the future dividend are expected to increase, let me just say again. However, share price growth is assumed to occur. Remember, however, share price growth is assumed to occur when shareholder expectations are raised about future dividend. And listen to me. I made a point last time, Barrister. I said a company that is paying dividend regularly will definitely ask what? Share price growth. If your company is not paying dividend regularly, automatically your price of shares will not work. No, that they said. That they said. However, share price growth is assumed to occur when shareholder expectation about what? About dividend will rate down. If a company is paying dividend regularly and investors are aware, this company they pay dividend regularly, what do you think investors will do? They want to invest in that company. They want to buy the share of that company. And then after for them to be demanding for that shares price, what happens to the price of their company shares to be going up? Because they know that this company pay dividend regularly. So there will be more demand of that share. And don't forget, before the demand and supply. Once there are too much demand, what happens to the price? To move up. So a company that shareholders expect their dividend to occur regularly, they expect their share to work to move up on it. Now, if future dividend I expect to increase, if future dividend I expect to increase, the share price will also what? Increase. When the future expectation of dividend will expect to increase, that is, okay, this year, this company pay dividend of 5 naira per share. Next year, they pay 10 naira per share. Next year, they will be expecting the share price to also work to increase a bit. Then automatically, they will be expecting the dividend to increase a bit. Automatically, the share price to be going up. So there's always a relationship between dividend and share price. Hello, there's always a what? Relationship, not difference. So there's always a relationship between dividend and what? And share price. When dividend is expected to grow up, what happens to share price? Go up. When it is expected to come down, what happens to the share price? Go down. That's what I'm saying. Relationship between them, between the dividend and the share price. Let's break it down a little bit now. Using these assumptions, I want to get out. Okay, let me cover that statement. They said at any time. Have you seen the line? That's the last line. Very I want to get out. At any time, the share price can be explained as a what? As a what? As a present value of all future dividend expectations. That's the way. That means in a simple language now, if they ask you to calculate the share price of your equity, your share price is always the present value of all future dividends. Oh, we know the meaning of present value. I mean, if this company will pay dividend in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, as of today, which year are we now? 2023, abi? This company I expect to pay dividend future now, to pay 50 naira 2023, 2024, 100 naira 2025, 10 naira 2026, 120. Let me do like this. This award are future dividend, abi? This award, Ayoba, you are closing your eyes. It's dangerous. This award, future dividend. Now, if they now ask you that what is the share price of this company as of today, what do you need to do? Just simply calculate the present value. The what? The what?
Present value.
Of this share using your cost of equity. Using your what? Using your cost of equity. Okay, you discount it and get the price. So if I ask you now that what is the share price, or how do we calculate the share price of a company, what do you tell me? It is what? The present value of all the future dividend expectation using your what? Your cost of equity to discount them. You get the price. So simple way, 2 man calculate the price of this share. What do? Don't discount all their what? All your future dividends to their present value. Now let's go for a little bit now. Now, using these assumptions, we have defined now. We have what? We have defined. Using this assumption, we can therefore say that the current value of a shares is what? Is the present value of future dividend in perpetuity. In what? In from our PM. When you say perpetuity, what is formula for perpetuity again? That is 1 over what? Over R. R, this R represents your cost of equity, your returns, right? That's what we are calling cost of equity. So that very I can say, if this is what 1 over cost of equity. So only pay if this is perpetuity, and you know your dividend. If you know your dividend in perpetuity that you are paying the same dividend you want into the future. So if you know your dividend in perpetuity, invariably you can say the price of a share is dividend multiplied by 1 over what? Cost of equity, that is perpetuity. So it can be price is equal to dividend over what? Cost of equity. This question, I don't know the same thing. Mathematically now, they are the same. So you can easily say that the price, if this is a formula now that you must know. Am I talking now? So you can easily say that the price of a share is equal to what? Dividend over what? Over cost of equity, that is into perpetuity. So when you know your dividend and you know your cost of equity, you can determine your what? Your share price. Good at grade, that is the every day to such a bit, and two ways a day. I said, we have a view that I get to back. Get to people, I mean, my get to get to class. You get to my class, and now what a day, we are able to, and now we're able to learn. Listen, holy shit, one. I want to get to the top, get to that is not get to. When you get to so make a man of people always get to. You get to you know get to. I'm get to who close your man get to. Yeah, but you know get to abi. Okay, so I'm saying the price of the share is what the what? Dividend over what? Cost of that is in perpetuity. That is when the company is paying dividend into perpetuity, easily you can determine your price. Now, this is where we are going. Don't forget, our topic is what? Cost of what? Of equity. That's what we are talking about. And this is what? Called KEAB. What I say is this. If you know share price and you know dividend, mathematically you can calculate your cost of equity. That's what we are saying. My ball. Let's go now. There are two methods that you need to know to estimate what the share price of a company is all about. One, dividend valuation model, which is what we are trying to explain now. There are two methods that you can use to calculate your price. Number one is what we call dividend valuation model, and two, dividend growth model, that is Gordon growth model. Now look at me. When we say dividend valuation model, I give it to my own name, that is dividend without growth. Both of them, they use dividend to value, but one is saying that there will be a growth in dividend. Now what I say is, if you want to declare dividend, let's say you are 1, 2, 3, 4 to the future, you can say this dividend though will remain the same 50, 50, 50, 50 to the future. But now dividend without what? Without growth. That means the dividend will remain what? Constant throughout the life of what? Of the business. Well, now the dividend. So I give it my own partner name. I say two methods. How many methods do I call it? Method now. One, dividend without what? Without growth. Without growth. And we have what? Dividend with growth. That will be good growth. As you know, so if your dividend is not going to grow, automatically your share price is what? Dividend over what? Because this is perpetuity. Hello. Let me fast you. Now, each of these methods for obtaining the share price valuation uses a formula that includes cost of equity capital. Am I go? So okay, Mr. Anlo, where are we going? We are going to what of which Abi, but we quickly bring in the price share into Abi. We are saying that any of this method that we're talking about, they will always bring in KE. Abi. So since they have KE, then we can do the equation to calculate your KE. That is your cost of equity. I will do that now. Let me complete the statement. The same model can therefore be what? Be used to estimate cost of equity if the share price is known. Right now. And if the dividend is also what? Also known, you can use to calculate cost of equity. In each word, the dividend valuation model and dividend growth model can be what? Can be used either to calculate an expected share price when the cost of equity is what? Is known. Also pay to buy more cost of equity. To the more dividend. What do? You calculate your both price abi. Or when you know the price and you know the dividend, you can calculate your what? Cost of equity. That was so we are doing this method now to analyze. So we are going to look at when there is a growth and when there is no what? There's no growth. And please, let me always do that video so that you don't stop. So these are the methods that we want to analyze now in determining our what? Cost of the equity. Let's go to the next page.
Sir,
I'm with you, sir.
mathematically,
Yes.
when we know the price,
Yes.
and we know the cost of the equity, so we can calculate for dividend.
Of course now. Any of these items now, any of this missing figure, tomorrow can be make Q the subject of the formula. That's all.
Sir,
I'm with you.
for companies who don't declare dividend for say 10 years, how do you know calculate this?
And their price will be negative. Because it will become zero, Abi. I said earlier on that there's always a journey between the price and dividend. I've said earlier on, when the company does not declare dividend, so their price will be worthless. I said they now use other model. Maybe they use asset-based model. Because there are so many, we are still going to go there, we are still going there later. Business valuation. There are a lot of methods that we can use. You can use dividend, you can use asset-based, capital method, any method that they are using. So there is sense if you use other model to calculate their price. You can also calculate their price. Use other model. So now, aside these two methods now, dividend without growth, dividend with growth. Another method that we can use to calculate our cost of equity now is a capital asset pricing model. What do I call it? So invariably, method of calculating cost of equity, we have how many method now? 3 methods. I mean, dividend without growth method, dividend with growth, and capital asset pricing model. So we are going to pick them one after the other and calculate our cost of equity. So let's go to the next page. Method 1, dividend valuation model, method of estimating the cost of equity. For my formula, if my market price is equal to dividend over cost of equity, and I know the market price and I know the dividend, then please, what's the formula for cost of equity then? So my cost of equity should be what?
Dividend over market price.
Dividend over what? Over market price. I mean, market price per share. Or anyone you are using. Dividend over PO. I mean, anyone you are using. Or dividend over market value per share. Anyone, depending on how you want to do it. But popularly, we all use this one. Market value. So now, that is if there is no growth in your what? In your dividend. That is dividend without growth. Dividend without growth. Use this method. Okay. To not waste our time, when we are talking about this price, please, this statement is very, very important. And I'm going to mention now. When we are talking about this price, basically there are always 2 types of price. We have share market price and ex-div market price. Div market price and what? Ex-div market. Look at it. I will explain the meaning one after the other. We have div, that is dividend market price, and we have ex-dividend market price. This formula that we are talking about here is referring to ex-div market price. You know where? You must not use div market price in this your formula. Please note it and watch out for that in your questions. So your formula in research now is market price what? Ex-div. So when anybody asks you that what's the formula for cost of equity, the formula is dividend over market price ex-div. That's the formula for cost of equity, that is under dividend without growth. Now, what is the meaning of div? What is the meaning of ex-div? In most cases, when a company is selling out their shares, January, June, December, this company sell the shares in January. Total shares towards 5,000 shares in January. And by Mr. A, Mr. A sell the shares 500 in January. When Mr. A sell the shares, he can sell the shares div. If he sell the share div to Mr. C, and if this company has declared dividend, the company go to the share anyway, this guy buy shares of the company, if that company has declared dividend, and this dividend is payable in June, that means you want to pay dividend in June now. Maybe as at January, Mr. A, the original owner of this share, has not collected dividend, abi? Ó dáa ju kó tó gba dividend yẹn. But now, as at January, he want to sell this share. So when he sell this share to Mr. C, he can sell this share to Mr. C div. The meaning is that Mr. C is the one that will have the right to go and collect dividend in June. Am I talking now?
Yes.
But if Mr. A sell the share to Mr. C ex-div, Mr. C only collect this share, but he won't have the right to collect that dividend. Is Mr. A that will still collect dividend by when? By June. So if the share price is inclusive the dividend in the future, like we div, But if the share price is excluding the dividend in the future, we call it what? XD. So therefore, the market value that you must use here must be what? Must always be XD. Now, how do you get XD? Your market price XD is equal to market price cum div minus dividend. Hello? That is, total for any cum div. How do you get your XD? What do? Subtract dividend from that market value cum div. You get your what? Market value XD. You why? When did you class and what did you say? What did you tell? You have money, you whole lot of. Ma. XD. XD means a price of a share that does not include the future dividend. Kò sínú ẹ̀, it's not inclusive. It's not. You can use the without. That if the share price is 10 naira, people say XD. Ó rí pé kò sí value of future dividend nínú ẹ̀. But when you say cum div, so ẹ máa gbọ́ now. Okay, I'm to collect 10 naira by June. Abi, but if I share fún ẹ, but if I want to send the share to you, to the extent that you go and collect this price, people máa ṣe, I will increase the share price. Abi, màá ti dọ̀wọ́lé sílẹ̀ fún kí owó tó fẹ́ gbà yín o máa ṣe kí ni, màá ti gbàgbọ́ ẹ̀ percent. So if I have to sell it for you 80 naira, I will sell it for you at what? 90 naira. Abi, so you pay me 90 naira. What does that mean? Invariably, you have already given my dividend. Abi, so this one now is what? Is cum div with dividend. This one would have been what? XD without dividend. So if you want to get this XD, what do you do? 10 minus what? 90. What do you get? You get to 80. Now I'm saying that to get your XD is what? It's a cum div market value minus what? And the dividend that you want to collect in the future. Give it to you what? So this formula at any point in time must be what? Must be what?
XD.
Must be what?
XD.
Wọ́n gbàgbé o, wọ́n jẹ́ kí ni? Wọ́n sọ pé mo ti gbàgbé wọ́n gbàgbé. It was always what? XD market value. Without future dividend inside. Example. A company shares is currently valued at what? 8.20 naira. And the company is expected to pay annual dividend of 70 kobo per share for foreseeable future. That is what? Into perpetuity. Into what? That means that dividend is not expected to what? To grow for foreseeable future. Then calculate the cost of the equity. Abi, ABC. Again and again. What's the formula for cost of equity without growth using dividend valuation model? Formula again. As per the year, your cost of equity is equal to what? Dividend over market value x what? XD. So for this question, what's our future dividend that we're talking about? 0.0, I mean, divided by the market price XD is what? 8.2. They are multiplied by 100%. What do we have? So therefore, our cost of equity is how much now? We are calculator, please. Calculator. So I'm trying to address example 1 in page 234. That's the question. In page 234 of our part, chapter 9, cost of equity. So that is our final answer. 8.5. So our cost of which is 8.5%. Now, practice question now. Practice question from that page. Practice question 1. Are we there? A company share price or a company share are currently valued at what? 8.20.